I want to talk about how to transform as an actor using animal work. Do you long for the ability to transform so fully into the character that you're playing that you become unrecognizable? This is something that most actors strive for. In this video, I will share an amazing layer in the process of acting called animal that will help you do just that. Stick around to the end of the video for a list of performances by actors in films who have used animal and incorporated it into their performances. Sometimes actors forget about the importance of behavior. So the art of acting involves creating a character as a three-dimensional human being. How does incorporating an animal help an actor to transform? The first thing to keep in mind is a lot of you may have been exposed to this exercise as a theater game, but animal actually goes all the way back to Konstantin Stanislavski's process, going back to his work with the Moscow Art Theater. Animal is a much more delicate layer than a theater game. When used well and in the right balance, animal can open up a magical door into a place of transformation that you never dreamed possible. So I learned this exercise from my mentor, Susan Batson. Her approach was pure, all the way back to the way that Stanislavski intended the exercise to be, which is when an actor incorporates an animal into a character, you're not putting it on like a suit, and you're not literally reaching for the behavior of the animal where you lose your human qualities. Incorporating an animal to help you create a character is a much more delicate process. So I'd like to explain the approach and the process of how you incorporate the animal as a layer. And then there's an exercise called an animal daily activity exercise where you fully explore how the sensation of the animal gives you different unconventional behavior and how you find the balance for your performance and how you give it to the character. So the first step is to understand how you go about making a choice for an animal for your character. Basically, what the animal represents is the animal that you choose for your character is connected to the public persona of the character. Basically, it's connected to how the character presents themselves to the world. So when you go out into the world, you have your public persona, which is like your mask that you put on so that nobody can feel your vulnerability underneath. This is how we survive in the world. The animal is an extension of that. It's a reflection of the public persona of the character. So when you understand what your character's public persona is, you can more easily make a decision about what kind of animal you'd like to work on for your character. Maybe it's a lone wolf type of person. So that's a great example of how you would go about choosing your animal. Maybe the character is a little bit more social, and so that would be more maybe like a feline, or a lion, or a lioness, or a bird. There's no right or wrong in this process. It's completely from your imagination and from what you're inspired by. Once you make the choice about the animal, you then have to research the animal any way that you can observe their behavior, their habitat, how they eat, how they interact, everything that you can observe. And you can do some reading as well on the different elements of the animal and how they live. The first step is incorporating the animal into your human behavior. So the first step is part of the homework before you do the daily activity exercise. Do the animal way out like a little kid, like on all fours, fully commit to the physicality of the animal like crazy without worrying about the humanization of it. Then you have to try to bring the animal into a sensation, and you have to humanize it so that it can stand up and move around like a human being. So this is where the process becomes more delicate. Many times when actors first begin to incorporate an animal into their behavior, they go too far with the animal, and it creates all kinds of tension, almost like you're chasing it and putting it on, and this is where it can feel like it's too much in the animal behavior. What you're trying to do is relax and use your five senses and incorporate the animal with your five senses. So here's what I mean by that. When we get to this step of humanizing the animal, isolate the different parts of your body, one part at a time, starting with the spine and incorporating the appendages, beginning with the arms and the hands and the legs and the feet and the head. And what you're trying to do, it takes a tremendous amount of patience, is you start with your human behavior, your human stuff. So in other words, if it's your hand and your arm, and you're isolating just your hand and your arm, you're starting with your hand and how that feels. I know it sounds funny to talk about it like this. You start with your human hand and your arm. You keep it relaxed, and then you introduce something sensorially about the animal, and it should be something in your five senses. So in other words, you're dealing with things like the weight, the size, the length, and then stuff like skin of the animal, fur, and you keep yourself relaxed as you go through this. Also the nails, if there are nails, if you're dealing with the head, the size of the head, the weight of the head, seeing through the eyes of the animal, the nose and the sense of smell, teeth, and you have to really incorporate everything all the way through your legs and through your feet. Again, not chasing it or having it create any tension, but the opposite. You're relaxing into it, you're holding on to your human stuff, and you're opening up your sensory imagination. It's a very difficult process, but with patience and practice, amazing things can open up. For example, feeling fur all over your arms and your face might make you feel something emotionally that you didn't expect. You might feel lonely. You might feel vulnerable. You might feel angry. If you have an emotional impulse, you're automatically bringing the human element into play. The other layer that automatically manifests is the primal thing that comes from the animal. And this is another thing that we should allow for and trust, is it lifts our human stuff into another place, into a more heightened place, which is excellent for the character. So once you have done this homework of standing the animal up like a human being, humanizing everything, and understanding the animal as a sensation, you're now ready to try the exercise. So the exercise is called Daily Activity with the Layer of the Animal. The framework for this exercise is, first of all, privacy. So you are completely private as the character. You're going to wake up or you're going to go to bed. You're going to do 3 activities, just daily activities. You're going to eat food, you're going to groom, and you're going to play. All of these activities should be influenced by the animal, but you're going to humanize them as well. And the ability to make those creative decisions based on what kind of animal you're working on. How do I humanize the food? How do I humanize the grooming? How Do I Humanize Playing is a wonderful exploration in how you use animal to give you an element of character. How does a character emerge from this layer of the animal? So you enter the space of the exercise. If you're going to bed, maybe you just came home as the character and you're getting ready to go to bed. Or if you're waking up, you start as the character is just sleeping and getting ready to wake up to start their day. And I always recommend to every actor not to feel obligated to the animal exploration at first. That the first thing you're trying to do is just find your connection to the character's overall circumstances, the world that they're living in, and to try to connect to the privacy and to the need of the character. And that should be the priority, because again, you're trying to understand how the animal gives you this particular human being. And the need being there is an essential component of that human connection. And then step by step, you move through the activities and you allow for the privacy and for the need and all of those things to weave together. After you move through all three activities, the exercise is finished, and there will be a solid foundation of this animal layer that you can bring into rehearsal and onto the set. So I thought that it would be very helpful to give a few examples of film actors who have used animal in their work so that you can go and review it. You might be familiar with these movies, you might not be familiar with these movies, but going back and looking at the performances and trying to see if you can feel this layer of the animal in there and how the actors incorporated the animal is extremely exciting and inspiring, because it shows you what's possible and how you can really fully transform as an actor. So Robert De Niro is a wonderful example. He's an actor studio actor, and he worked with Stella Adler. But there are a few iconic performances where he was known to use specific animals. The first example is Raging Bull. In Raging Bull, De Niro said he was a crab. Interesting choice, right? I thought he was a bull until I saw an interview that he did, and he said he was a crab. And looking back at the performance, yeah, it looks like a crab. There are different subtle things that come through. Let me just say something very quickly about that. It is not necessary that we guess what kind of animal you're working on. It's actually something that should give us a feeling of a particular type of human being. The animal might come through, it might come through in a big way, depending on the character, but it's not necessary that the audience figure out what kind of animal you're trying for. The other De Niro role is Cape Fear. In Cape Fear, he was a snake. Another famous actor, another famous example of animal work done beautifully is Dustin Hoffman in Midnight Cowboy. He was a rat. Nicole Kidman in The Hours was a big bird, maybe something like a flamingo. Very famous example, Marlon Brando in The Godfather was a bulldog. I'm interested in any examples that you might have of animal work done by actors in films. Feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Click on the description below for links to our website as well as our free weekly newsletter. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.